You are out of your mind if you are doubting the staying power or the success of Palworld. 10 plus million copies have already been sold. That's just on Steam. We're not even talking about the lesser version that's over there on Game Pass, but this thing has become the second most streamed game of all time, surpassing Counter-Strike Go, CSGO. Highest number of concurrent users, and still, it's growing all the time. And guess what? Looks like it's a pretty good game. I picked myself up a copy, and I'll probably be playing it sometime this week. Haven't got around to it yet. Some real-life stuff has gotten into the way. But yeah, I want to play a little bit of it. And a lot of the controversy surrounding it, well, it kind of ended up pushing me in that direction. But just hearing from the studio itself, it really sold me on the product, because this would have been just like last year with all of that Hogwarts Legacy crap. Well, the high barrier of entry with that one being a full-priced game, and it only just being a so-so experience kind of, put me off on, really supporting that. And then also seeing the AstroTurf to boycott campaign behind that, really put me off on that. But Palworld's grassroots appreciation and marketing campaign and overall success, I really like this story. I like it a lot. It's a miracle that Palworld exists, according to the studio's founder. It was the antithesis of proper game development. Now, this is one of those stories that you normally hear out of like the Lord of Ring, Gollum, other, Road to Hell, Retribution. What are some of the other all-time awful games? Like, if you'd hear that exact same story from them, it would be, that totally makes sense. But when it's a smash hit, it's a little bit of a different story. It's like, wow, that ended up working out exceedingly well for you. Well, that's a great thing, even though it was kind of a goofy development cycle. But hey, even great things can come from unexpected scenarios. But when you try to take that whole, we didn't really know what we were doing, trying to use that philosophy to your own endeavors, it's never going to end up working in a long-term scheme. Like, okay, for every Iron Man that comes out not having a full and complete script upon filming starting, you try running that strategy back again, and you're just going to end up with the Doctor Strange multiverse of madness. But anyways, you could make a convincing argument that Steam sensation Palworld shouldn't exist, but you don't have to. The game's creator has already made the argument himself, not because it's controversial, though it is that. I don't know, I do know why, and some of the reasons we'll get into, but then also at the same time, some of the accusations and those that I pointed out in my previous video on the topic, they're just outright lies when it comes to this game. But it's also been a good lightning rod for conversation to develop. The bizarre mashup of survival sandbox and perverse reimagining of Catch 'em All has been accused of copying Pokemon models, which we've looked at and went, no, that just kind of looks like it's different enough, the best type of enough. And then also, oh wow, they have sheep or pals, which are Pokemon in Palworld, and Pokemon also has a sheep. Have you seen sheep? Yeah, exactly. Taking inspiration from real world creatures isn't the exclusive domain of Nintendo. Sorry to burst your bubble. And using AI art, yeah, funny thing on that one, okay? Is that was a second-hand accusation made by somebody who misconstrued a statement from the CEO of Pocket Pair, who we're going to be hearing from in some of this interview right here, conflating a different game that they made and then trying to run nothing that has to do with Palworld and to stir up the anti-AI art crowd to review bomb Palworld. But then when that accusation ended up not bearing any fruit, the guy ended up retracting that. So you don't worry about that. The good story's already been out there for a while. Even PETA provided a statement because, of course, the ultimate clout chasers, even before Instagram thoughts, hitting 30 plus, PETA are the original outrage merchants. Insider gaming regarding players' ability to devour their pals and using them for hard labor. Unsurprisingly, the group doesn't seem thrilled by the idea. Yeah, they're just terrible. Nobody actually likes PETA. But before all of that, a few days prior to launch, the head of Palworld developer Pocket Pair wrote a lengthy blog post about everything that went wrong during the extremely unmethodical development, from a lack of concrete budget to its completely inexperienced team. The game's completion and success launch are mind-boggling. So the author translated the most surprising anecdotes from Pocket Pair CEO, Palworld producer Takuro Mizobi, and called Palworld's creation the antithesis of proper for game development. Palworld had no budget, and the producer still doesn't know exactly how much it costs to make. That's interesting. No sane company would start developing a game without a budget, Takuro Miyazobi said. But Pocket Bear is not a sane company. Before the small Tokyo-based developer began work on Palworld in earnest, it spent the first 3 months developing a trailer. If the response to the trailer was poor, it wouldn't be worth making the game in the first place. That's why we didn't even bother making a budget to start. Initially, I intended to make Palworld in 1 year. I didn't have any intention to make a major title. I had no desire to spend years working on the same thing. But with only 10 of us on the team to start, that's crazy, man. This really harkens back to those old game studios from back in the late 80s, early 90s that were started up in people's garages, like id starting up in, I think it was John Carmack's garage, or when Rare were kings of the Super Nintendo. There was only a handful of them. Like, you're getting an old head reminiscent here. But only, 10 of us on the team. I began to realize how impossible that would be. So I started asking myself, what's the budget when the balance in our bank account reaches zero? We could always just borrow money or release money. Just before the company went bankrupt, we had about 2 years of runway. I decided to just keep working without stressing about the budget because all I was worried about is getting it done as fast as possible. Nobody on the team knew how to animate characters. That's kind of crazy. With the limited amount of gameplay video that I've seen on this, it doesn't look like the animations are terrible. Hell, it doesn't even look like the visuals are bad, so that's crazy. Although Palworld introduces over 100 unique, should be in quotations, monsters, or pals, and developers lacked the skills they needed to animate them, with many having no experience in 3D modeling. Casually started designing Palworld, no, it should be Palworld, as a 3D monster collecting action game. Then I realized it took me an entire month just to make one 3D model alone. When we worked on Craftopia, we just purchased pre-made assets. We never designed our own before. But yes, moving along to creature design, the dev team turned down their future star artist when she first applied to the company. Oh, good! What a good story we have here. The woman behind Palworld's creature design didn't make it through the vetting process when first applying to work for the company. While Miyazobi liked her portfolio, he worried that she wasn't a good fit based on the uniqueness of her designs. I thought that when it comes to work with us, she won't be able to make the most of her talents, so I rejected her. 3 months later, she sent me a DM. I was amazed that she would be so bold after I had rejected her so recently. So I read her messages. In the end, I hired her, and she drew the majority of Palworld's characters. And of course, that's where all of the accusations and potential lawsuits start to come into place. Because, okay, if it was just going to be a simple monster capture game with guns and everything that you see in the initial launch trailer, well, you could have some plausible deniability. But a lot of the controversy centers around the designs of the characters. And, well, the Pokemon Company is going to be launching an investigation into Palworld's designs after receiving many inquiries alleging IP infringement. But this has been the talk of the gaming world now for the better part of a month, and haven't really figured out anything yet. And with all of the money that's at the Pokemon Company, Nintendo, and Game Freak's disposal, I mean, come on, if they could have found something early, they would have already had this thing shut down. After receiving a flood of inquiries, wow, a bunch of people just big mad that another independent studio that isn't going to kowtow to a bunch of leftist progressive ideals is hyper successful. Yeah, now you got a bunch of inquiries. Okay, ostensibly sent by the Nintendo-owned franchise fans out of nothing more than self-assumed duty to blindly defend the stagnating game series' refusal to innovate. There's one way that you could put it. It would be a very accurate way to put it. Alleging IP infringement by the newly released title. The Pokemon Company has announced that they will officially be undertaking a copyright investigation into Pocket Bear Incorporated's Palworld monster designs. And yeah, there are some similarities. We looked at a couple of the most egregious examples, and well, they're different enough. Good luck. Good luck. First announced in June of 2021, Palworld is a monster catching open world survival game. Think Pokemon meets Ark survival evolved, and that's what a lot of people are now more favorably or more accurately comparing it to. It's more like Ark with Pokemon elements over the top of it, wherein players are tasked with collecting various pals to help them in exploring and surviving the local Galapagos Islands. All right, cool. To this end, after capturing a given pal in a pal sphere, players can then assign their new companions to perform various tasks around the local camp, including but not limited to farming, fighting, and forced labor, and usually done in service of manufacturing more items or developing the production and defense capabilities of one's home base. While most of the monster catching titles force players to rely solely on their monsters to engage with their respective combat elements, Palworld instead invites them to get on in the action themselves and fight alongside the companions using a variety of weapons ranging from fists, swords, to full-on firearms. Yes, of course, and that's what makes it oh so adorable. Oh my god, that's so cute. It's little guys with guns. Thanks to both, it's offering to what can best be described as a more expansive take on Pokemon Legends Arceus. Most notably, it drew high praise for actually pushing the franchise in a more open-world direction, and many had long hoped it would eventually take, with players widely having found themselves frustrated with the lack of effort put forward by the Pokemon in their recent Sword Shield and Scarlet Violet entries. That Palworld, on January 18th, 2024's early access release, was met with a tidal wave of success, selling over 1 million copies in its first 8 hours. 6 million in its first 3 days, and then in the first week over 10 million. Yeah, it's a bit of a success. But yeah, concurrent? Okay, on January 24th, concurrent players over 2 million. PUBG Battleground obviously holds, 3.2 million concurrent players in January 2018. I don't know if we're likely to ever see something get that popular that quickly, but that's kind of crazy. However, not all was dollar signs and dancing for Palworld. As though a very evident magnitude of players found themselves enjoying the game, there were a number, particularly the aforementioned Pokemon diehards, who responded to the success by attempting to poke any hole that they could in its reputation. While the company saw a number of tactics deployed by its critics, including accusing its art assets of being generated with AI simply due to Pocket Pair Inc.'s CEO's own self-professed interest in the technology, and vaguely claiming, as Naughty Dog senior artist Del Walker did, ugh, Naughty Dog. Another formerly great studio absolutely destroyed by the woke mind virus. That it was made nefariously, and by cheating, perhaps. None was more prominent than that which saw their monster design charged with being nothing more than a wholesale ripoff of various Pokemon. But yeah, the sentiment that I also expressed at the time, and while admittedly a number of Palworld's pals do share some visual similarities to their Game Freak development predecessors, arguments at the end were often made based on Olympic-level reaches and bad faith interpretations of common character design elements. Yeah, by a bunch of weirdos online who, want to go ahead and virtue signal that, AI art puts a bunch of artists out of work. Well, guess what? You were never going to get hired because this is a very small studio. We already seen what their current monster editor, design developer had to go through in order to get hired. And B, if you can't differentiate your own unique art from that of what we currently see from AI art generators, I got news for you. Your art's just not that good. And so the conversation started to spin off just a little bit, and then it started to involve one of the biggest streamers, commentary channels. I don't even know what Asmongold does, what he did before, why he's achieved the position that he has. I've heard some of his takes before. I don't subscribe to him. I don't seek him out for any sort of counsel on a specific topic, but I see him talk about a lot of different stuff, and generally whenever I hear him talk on something, kind of agree. Maybe his appeal is that of just your, regular workaday individual just offering their opinions on the situation, maybe with a little bit more of a learned take on things, given his, gaming background. He ended up getting taken out of context, kind of like the developers of Palworld, in a very unflattering situation with a pretty spicy take. Asmongold under fire from Palworld hot take. Artists don't matter. Ooh, that's a good one right there. What does he mean by that? One of the most popular streamers on Twitch said artists' opinions don't matter when discussing AI and its possible use in Palworld. Yeah, there's a little bit more to this clip, but we could just go ahead and play the clip to begin with, because I think that would be fairly important. But okay, it's $1.30, so let's listen.
To expect me to draw a moral line, I have to perceive a difference that I consider substantial.
Oh, by the way, that's just how it starts. Like, we're missing a lot of context on this, but that's the way that these clippers work, man.
And I do not consider the difference substantial. Do you guys? No. Right. No. And that's really what matters. If it was made with AI, I'm completely okay with that because it was fun.
Yeah.
The evidence
It
is
doesn't
that
matter. Nobody really cares
the lead
about this.
developer has been very positive about AI in the past and made an AI game
We're gonna play
called
this, by the way.
AI Art Imposter that lets
Yeah.
an AI artist draw a picture. And so that was like one of the
Yeah,
games.
we're gonna be playing
and
this this week.
Yes, just generally has been much more positive about some of the benefits of AI rather than what is the normal sentiment amongst artists and I guess general Twitter population.
The normal sentiment amongst artists and the general Twitter population. It's very interesting the way that gets thrown out there, but yeah, okay. So I've seen this whole AI debacle has been going around for a very long time. A lot of people generally who are informed by movies just think that Skynet's going to be coming to destroy us any day now. It's like, yeah, eventually AI art isn't quite there yet. Don't really have the problem with goofy looking fingers anymore. That's kind of worked its way out. And yes, in a 6 months to a year's time, AI art in general is probably going to start to get really, really, really good. It's starting already to just transcend the whole kind of plasticky veneer and working its way into a bunch of different scenarios. And frankly, I don't really have a problem with it being used to that extent. And I've heard a lot of other people talk about this situation in regards to AI, and well, you're gonna have to use it as a tool, man. Okay, it's like old construction guys, okay, who were just used to swinging a hammer all day long, and then eventually air nailer came along and nobody wanted to catch up to it. But then when they realized that they were getting outworked, they were either going to have to adapt or die. And that's what we're going to be seeing in these different domains. Okay, you're seeing a bunch of different journalists, and oh boy, the mass media industry is getting hit hard by layoffs, mostly because their work is 1000% superfluous. And if it can be outsourced to just simple AI prompts and somebody else just simply filling in the blanks, are you that necessary to the market? Or were you eventually going to be rendered useless? Because that's what we're seeing when it comes to certain aspects of AI, but then also just general image creation. If you are, like I said before, so wholeheartedly unremarkable that you can be replaced by a browser app, you need to go back to the drawing board, actually and metaphorically. Secondly, catch up with the evolving world, because we've seen something like this, a phenomenon like this happen with the invention of the incandescent light bulb. Okay, guess what? We would have had the internet around in those times. You would have heard just as many people bitching, moaning, whining, and complaining about, well, what's going to happen to the candlestick makers? Either catch up or get out of the way. I don't know what else to tell you, but we haven't even got to the main event of the clip yet.
Which is that, AI is bad and it takes jobs from people.
Well, AI and the sentiment from artists' opinions don't matter. It just doesn't matter, because what matters is the opinion of the people that are buying the product. Like, it doesn't, like, your opinion on it, like, just because you do it doesn't, like, nobody cares. Like, it's not relevant.
Now, there were a few jump cuts in between him making that statement, but generally speaking, like, this is obviously speaking upon the greater Palworld phenomenon, and then the one small aspect that everybody's trying to narrow in on is the AI arts being used, which there is absolutely no sign of, by the way, like I said before in the previous video, and I'll go ahead and repeat for posterity's sake. These people that have nothing to do with the situation, their opinions don't matter at all, because they were just simply going to bitch about whatever is out there. And yeah, of course, you have every right in the world to just opine on a situation, but as much as Asmongold says that artists' opinions don't matter, well, guess what? Your opinion doesn't matter either, because you're crying from outside the club. Like it or lump it, there are different provisions carved into different contracts that are out there. Hell, I got a video that either just got released or it just got released on Sunday. On Sunday it got released about the different carve-outs that AI has when it comes to video games. Well, guess what? We're going to have to reconcile with that, especially in the gaming industry, very, very quickly, because it's already baked in there. And then also with writers in Hollywood and actors in Hollywood, they've also got AI to use at their own disposal. but these are simply, like, the rest of the industry has already figured out that AI, it's not going anywhere. It's only going to get better, and they might as well learn how to harness it and use it to perfect better entertainment experience for the public, because there's no sense in just crying over spilt milk. But play the rest of the clip.
It's like whenever one of these, like, you know, really well-respected and really respectable directors talks about how bad Marvel is. Shut up, old man. Shut up. I like watching the Thor movie. It was cool.
Well, hopefully it just wasn't, you know, like Love and Thunder or anything like that. That was absolutely dog shit. But I do love the first Thor movie, okay? Probably on my short list of Miss Marvel movies. But that went viral over the past weekend, and, well, you could kind of see why. Asmongold, inflammatory with the statement. I don't necessarily think that he's wrong. It's just it's a conversation that was eventually going to come up in some form or fashion. Asmongold addressed the issue, saying that the opinion, that only opinion that matters is the paying customer in regards to whether AI is in games is good or bad. But he has faced severe backlash from fans and by a dead by daylight dev. Well, yes, theoretically a statement. Okay, yeah, if the consumer at the end of the day doesn't want to support an AI generated art asset filled game, they don't have to buy it. You speak with your wallet, which used to be the power of the consumer, and then the company, the business, whoever was creating said product, had to go ahead and, you know, curtail their approach to go ahead and facilitate transactions with their anticipated customer. That used to be the way that things work, but there is so much entitlement that is going on with these people, and that's what's being missed here. The clip from the recent stream has gone viral with 33 million viewers on Twitter, where Asmongold said, and we already played all of that stuff, artists' opinions don't matter, because what matters is the opinion that people are buying the product. It's not relevant. It's almost certainly a reference, to Martin Scorsese, shut up old man about Marvel movies. Yes, of course. For the record, I don't care about Palworld versus Pokemon discussion, but I know when something is wrong, play whatever you want to play, but don't respect the artist to say anything stupid like Asmongold said. Have a nice day, said Jeanette Feliz, who posted the clip on Twitter. Yeah, I have no idea who the chick is, okay. The lead character artist on Dead by Daylight, Eric Bordages, sure, had perhaps the strongest opinion on the clip, saying, "Guy sits in filth. Oh my god. Ad hominem attacks. How wonderful. Consuming things that wouldn't exist without artists. Shits on developers, shits on gamers, probably shits on the floor in his bedroom, and still somehow people will say he's based. Anyways, don't listen to me. My opinion doesn't matter." Well, that's good. You just threw it out there to just go ahead and make a couple of snide remarks. Dead by Daylight, don't you just go ahead and license out a bunch of horror icons? Okay, it's not like you're really doing all that much to begin with. Maybe that's why he's a little bit ass hurt about that comment. But it's funny, okay, that Kalia chick, she's another streamer, but okay, she's telling you to stop listening to streamers, but then again, I don't listen to women, so why would you listen to her circular logic? I'm a streamer, but don't listen to streamers, so at the same time, is the proper course of action to listen to streamers? That's interesting, man. How about you just engage with the hypothetical that maybe when you're producing a product, the consumer's opinion of said product is the only thing that matters. The people that work on the product, it doesn't matter if they worked hard, if the product is shit. Okay, nobody wants to hear about your struggles. All they want to do is see winning product at the end of the day, okay? My favorite quote from my favorite Christmas movie, okay, Christmas Vacation. When Clark can't get any of the Christmas lights to work and he gets the family to go out and stand in the front yard, and then the father-in-law is right there, okay, and he's talking about how none of the lights are going on, and then the daughter and Audrey just looks over and goes, "Well, he worked really hard on this, Dad," and then he just looks over and says, "Well, so do dishwashers." And it's like, yo, nobody cares about the struggle. They might like to hear how hard everybody worked on something great. Okay, all the blood, sweat, and tears that went into the greatest video games of all time. They like to hear about the little underdog story that went behind, you know, the creation of Palworld. They might find it a little bit more endearing. The public, these out-of-work artists, these clout-chasing idiots that just want to hop on a trend, they're not entitled to your sympathy, your attention, your views, your opinions. They are not entitled to be validated by anybody. I put videos like this. I put 3 videos out every single day. I'm not entitled to anybody to watch this. I'm not entitled to anybody to subscribe to my channel, to like the video, to dislike the video, to leave a comment, to not leave a comment, to never return to my channel, to become a fervent supporter of the channel. I'm not entitled to any of that stuff. I put a product out there with the hopes that I connect with somebody out out there, that I say something that resonates with people, that I can make a living doing this. That's what I hope to do. That's what I work at every single day to create and make a reality. I'm not owed any of this stuff. Not entitled like so many people that have grown up in the participation trophy society where everything that they do gets met with a complete adulation. Asmongold just smacked everybody in the face with a harsh dose of reality. It doesn't matter how hard you worked on something. It doesn't matter what you think of your product. The only thing that matters is the opinion of the end user. If it didn't match up, if it didn't resonate with them, tough titties, better luck next time. And it doesn't matter if he's dropping takes like this in a pig pen, they are still as true as they've ever been. Get good or get out of the way. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.